Good afternoon. I'm going to welcome everybody to the open session of the Board of Governors meeting this afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure to see everybody here, and I appreciate you making the time and committing the energy to join us. Thank you to Chancellor Tillis and the Camden community for hosting this meeting and the Board of Governors on campus today. And welcome to everyone to our first meeting of the second half of the academic calendar year. While we continue to maintain our focus on our core mission and values, the environment we live and work in has changed notably since our last meeting together. In the midst of uncertainty and an actively changing landscape, I want to assure you that this Board of Governors and our university leadership remain absolutely committed to our core values of academic excellence that is both accessible and affordable, maintaining and building a community where all members of the university have a voice, and serving the common good while making a meaningful contribution to our world. These values remain our North Star in the delivery of our mission to provide for the educational needs of the state of New Jersey and beyond through our educational programs, to conduct research that contributes to the well-being of the state of New Jersey, the nation, and the world while strengthening economies and businesses. And finally, to perform public service to support the needs of the state of New Jersey through local and county governments as well. As the State University of New Jersey and a leading national public research university, we seek to fulfill this mission to provide learning, discovery, innovation, service, and healthcare at the absolute highest levels. The achievements of our award-winning faculty drive our world-class reputation, and the achievements of our brilliant, creative, committed students are shaping our collective future for the better. We have a full agenda ahead of us today, beginning with remarks from our president, and soon you will learn more about the vibrant and accomplished campus of Camden from Chancellor Tillis. Then we'll also hear a report on the Middle States reaccreditation process, which is ahead of us from our provost, Dr. Mogi. We will then consider academic and staff appointments and facility improvements as we continue to advance our commitment to our world-class faculty and the student experience. I want to personally thank you again for joining us today and for your ongoing commitment and dedication to our university. These are challenging times and we're better together. I'm grateful for you being here today. Thank you. President Holloway.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me begin with a word about our federal landscape. We are working to keep our students, our faculty and staff informed of changes coming out of the federal government and doing all that we can to support them as we continue conducting the business of the university, preparing students, conducting research, and serving the common good. By sharing information with the community, we are trying to help people navigate the changes that might apply to them. Where necessary, we are advocating for Rutgers' interests. As one example, we join with a number of states filing for an injunction in Massachusetts against the cuts to NIH funding for research, which resulted in a temporary restraining order against the cuts. Just as important, we are committed to focusing on our own mission to do what we came to Rutgers for. This is a constantly evolving landscape with new edicts coming down, it seems, every Friday around 4 o'clock. So this will be an ongoing conversation and adjustment on our collective behalf. But our focus on our values is unchanging and our commitment to them unchanging. I'm quite delighted to reiterate the great news from recent weeks that Rutgers celebrated not one, but 3 winners of the prestigious Schwarzman Scholarship for graduate study in China. Best of all, this is the first time we had a winner from all 3 locations, Newark, Camden, and New Brunswick. I can't emphasize how remarkable that accomplishment is. Tanya Martinez from Camden, Nina Goel from New Brunswick, and China Anwayu from Newark. This is the latest evidence of rising excellence across the university. Last week, I presented my 4th annual financial address to the University Senate, a tradition I hope will continue under the next Rutgers president. offered a thumbnail view of our $5.6 billion budget, both revenues and expenditures, and mentioned several capital projects that leverage outside funding, including the Brant Behavioral Treatment Center, which was funded entirely through philanthropy and grants. I focused my remarks on the efforts underway with the board's input and approval to ensure our long-term financial sustainability. Within that financial sustainability plan, I paid special attention to our work on enrollment, which our chancellors are taking leadership roles. These efforts gain even more importance given the uncertainties we face in the coming fiscal year for both federal and state funding. As we look at enrollment long-term, I'm delighted to say that the coming year's undergraduate applicant pool for Rutgers is healthy again. We've already received, this is actually quite a shocking number, so I'm going to just slow it down a little bit. We have already received more than 90,000 applications, up by 15% over a year ago. 2 years ago, I didn't put this number in. I think we were around 48 to 50,000 applicants. This is quite something. We received over 90,000 applicants, up 15% over a year ago, and the number of admitted students is also up, this time by nearly 10%. Still early in the admissions process, of course, but it's clear that we're going to be building on last year's strong numbers, and this is our second year employing the Common App. Madam Chair, that concludes my comments.
Thank you very much, President Holloway. I will now call on Chancellor Tillis. Thank you again for hosting us and welcoming us on Camden. It's a beautiful day to be here, and I will turn the floor over to you for your report. Thank you.
Wonderful. Madam Chair, Vice Chair Lau, members of the Board of Governors, President Holloway, distinguished colleagues and members of the public, good afternoon. I am pleased to have this opportunity to share some of the latest news from Rutgers University in Camden. As I reflect on our community's progress, I am proud of the significant strides we have made. While acknowledging important areas of growth, I am confident that the university is well positioned to excel in the face of the evolving demands of higher education and to build upon the many successes that will be highlighted here today, advancing our institution even further. Let's see if this is going to work. Oh, wait. Enrollment. Overall, we have enrolled more new students for the spring 2025 semester than we did spring 2024, with particularly strong numbers for transfer students. In sum, we are up by 65 new students, a strong increase of a close to roughly 18%. Combining new and returning students, our overall total enrollment this semester is also up from spring 2024. We are up by 48 students, and we are encouraged by significant increases in our graduate and business enrollment. Another area of optimism is our total number of applications, which has increased significantly by about 9%, thanks in part to our adoption of the Common Application. The ultimate goal, of course, is to convert this increase in applications to a similar rise in yield. Our admissions and enrollment offices are laser focused on ensuring these yields increases are realized through an aggressive push and yield campaign activity. Looking a little bit of our graduation rates, our four-year graduation rate for Rutgers Camden, first time in college undergraduates, is at 36%, which is above the national average, and 43% for transfer students. Our six-year graduation rates of 62% for FTIC college students and 70% for transfer students indicate the wraparound service that we give our students while they are matriculating with us at Rutgers Camden. With regard to retention rates, our retention rates for FTIC students and transfer students are on par with national averages. Our student success team and our university as a whole understand that student retention is everyone's responsibility, and to that end, we have developed a student-centered culture that fosters proactive interventions, strong academic support, wellness, and co-curricular programs that encourage community and a sense of belonging. We have prioritized such support for our students, and the numbers show that our approach is working. Let's talk a little bit about budget. Fiscal responsibility is a critical part of university operations. Rutgers Camden continues to make strides in this area, and we have positioned ourselves to better serve our faculty, staff, and students while remaining fiscally responsible. The university's projected FY26 revenue from tuition and fees, shown in the orange line, and state appropriations in the green line are slightly above our FY24 actuals. Therefore, our FY24 budget exceeds our actual spend from FY24. Just as a reminder, the largest portion of Rutgers Camden's revenue continues to come from tuition and fees, followed by state appropriations and fringe benefit revenue. As an institution, we continue to actively explore and pursue innovative new streams of revenue to better serve our faculty, staff, and students. I am delighted to report that Rutgers Camden received over $24 million in grant funding from FY24, a 14% increase over FY23. Our outlook for FY25 is bright, as we have already earned about 2/3 of the amount of grant funding we did in FY24. As we close out FY25, I will provide an update to you relative to our progress. There are two notable highlights regarding grants that I would like to note. The first is a nearly $2.5 million grant from the New Jersey Department of Education awarded to Dr. Celine Thompson of the Walter Rand Institute for continued evaluation of the Clayton model, which is a comprehensive school-based mental health service program. Additionally, the second is a grant of nearly $200,000 from the Stoneleigh Foundation to study gun violence exposure and suicide among Philadelphia's youth, awarded to Dr. Daniel Semanza, Associate Professor of Sociology and Director of the New Jersey Gun Violence Research Center. This important work advances our understanding of the impact of the world we live in on young people living in our region and underpins multiple efforts to create supportive services that promote positive youth and mental health. There we are. Fiscal year to date, our Office of Advancement has raised more than $2.1 million, aiming to once again exceed our annual fundraising goal of $6.5 million for FY25. I would like to thank Chuck Wright and his team for their work in helping us to exceed our goal year after year. As we're still within the 5-year framework of our strategic plan, this report will center on the impacts of our 5 major pillars. So I'd like to give just a few examples of recent achievements that align with these pillars. I am pleased to report that all of my 15 in 5 initiatives have officially launched, making funding available to faculty, staff, and students for a host of transformative opportunities. Since the launch of the first 15 in 5 initiative in fall of 2022, the university has committed roughly $1.7 million to these programs in order to advance the work of our faculty, of our staff, and our students. With regard to, there we are. One source of innovation in academic excellence at Rutgers Camden is the Urban Innovation Fund, which has dedicated over $500,000 to research and scholarship that is specifically intended to benefit our local community. One cohort of faculty and students is using this fund to create a medical database designed to ensure Camden residents no longer have to contend with the very serious consequences of incomplete or inadequate health history information. Meanwhile, as this turns, here we are. Meanwhile, right here in Camden, our inaugural cohort of Philadelphia 76ers interns ended the semester with a victory. Their tenure with the team was extended past the fall and is continuing right now through the spring semester. Congratulations to these 3 exemplary interns who helped this program tip off perfectly. They are Dave Villanueva, an English and communications major who's working in content marketing, Anderson Guaman, a computer science major working in information technology, and Kamali Wade, a business student in the Sixers finance department. These 3 students they are the embodiment of what Rutgers excellence looks like in Camden. With regard to the holistic experience, it's no secret that today's college students are coping with stress and anxiety, whether brought on by their coursework or by the challenges we are all facing in these uncertain times. Faculty and staff in our arts program and student wellness center have met a critical need by introducing an on-campus meditation space known as the Zen Den. This interdisciplinary collaboration exemplifies our commitment to our students that we serve. Our beloved Camden community is set to undergo an incredible transformation with the Cooper Street Gateway project, as you all are aware. I am pleased to also report that Rutgers Camden and Rutgers University now owns the entirety of the 400th block of Cooper Street, and construction has begun in earnest on the new facility. This project will provide much needed space for our campus community as well as the community at large. I look forward to sharing more updates about this substantial investment in our campus as it proceeds towards a late 2026 completion, coincided with Camden's centennial celebration. The Rutgers Camden community hosted our first ever Chancellor's International Student Luncheon, where Scarlet Raptors from more than 20 countries came together to speak about their experiences as international students and the joy and to enjoy a multicultural meal. There we are. Currently, Rutgers Camden is home to 230 international students hailing from countries like China, Ethiopia, Ghana, Nepal, Nigeria, Turkey, Paraguay, and many more. I am excited for these ranks to grow as we continue to expand and diversify our international community. To echo President Holloway, earlier this month, I had the pleasure to personally congratulate two students who achieved Fulbright semifinalist status. Sophia Westphal and Hermina Garrick have been successful from the competition pool to advance to the level of semifinalist. Sophia is pursuing her graduate studies in Wales, and Hermina has applied to conduct research in her home country of Bosnia. As you will see shortly, two alumni joined them in reaching semifinalist status this year, giving Rutgers Camden 4 total semifinalists for 2025. I would like to also recognize Browin Everill, a current MFA student whose latest book, Africanomics, A History of Western Ignorance, was recently published by HarperCollins in the UK, and it is gaining lots of intellectual track. Okay. And among our law school students, I would like to commend Brett Wise, who earned a judicial clerkship on the New Jersey Supreme Court with Justice Fabiana Pierre-Louis for the 2025-2026 term. These are just a few examples of the many successes enjoyed by our remarkable students and reflect the passion, dedication, and hard work they demonstrate during their time with us in Rutgers Camden. Now, moving to a little bit about our faculty. There we are. None of what we accomplished at Rutgers Camden would be possible without the exceptional work and dedication of our faculty. I want to highlight just a few, starting with Professor C.J. Lohr III from Rutgers Law School. He was selected as a Fulbright specialist to develop legal aid programs in India. Professor Crescente Molina, also from Rutgers Law, won the 2025 Future Promise Award from the Association of American Law Schools section on jurisprudence. I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to these faculty members and thank all of our dedicated faculty members for the impact made in their varying fields. As for our alumni who represent Rutgers Camden with distinction, they continue to make us proud in every sector and industry. Some examples include In more hugely exciting news for Rutgers Camden, we now have our inaugural, as the president mentioned, Schwartzman Scholar, Tanya Martinez. Once this advances. We need to go back one. David, could you take it back one? Thank you. Tanya Martinez, who graduated in the class of 2022 with a triple major in political science, philosophy, and global studies, was selected for one of the most competitive and prestigious fellowships for graduate students in the world. Next fall, she will travel to Tsinghua University in Beijing, China, for a one-year master's program in global affairs. I am incredibly proud that Tanya will represent our university alongside future global leaders from around the country. She truly embodies our commitment to internationalism and community engagement, which takes root at the student level. Next one, please, David. Thank you. Cal Maradona, a true Rutgers University institution, thanks to decades of dedication to our alumnus, our dedication as an alumnus, faculty, and staff member. Cal was a recent recipient of the Rutgers Presidential Lifetime Contribution Award. Go Cal, and I think Cal is here. The next slide highlights Sienna Zelinger, an alumna who also serves as the director of our Writers House. Sienna received a 2024 Florida Review's Editors Prize in Creative Nonfiction. Additionally, the next slide, Chad Kaplow, who graduated last month, is the first student who has completed the degree requirements for the Master's in Finance and Wealth Management, now offered in our business school. So I guess we all need to be on the lookout for solicitations from Chad to manage our wealth. Next slide. Last but certainly not least, Rutgers Camden has two graduate students who are semifinalists for Fulbright Awards. Samira Lari is pursuing an English teaching assistantship in Indonesia, while Miriam Johnson is pursuing her graduate studies in Turkey. Having received this lifetime benefits of a Fulbright fellowship myself, it is my sincere hope that all four of our semifinalists will emerge from this process with the opportunity to enjoy the same experiences as Fulbright scholars. Now, next slide talks a little bit about our Raptor Rally. The semester got off to an exciting start with the third annual Raptor Rally, which saw our men's and women's basketball teams face off in a doubleheader against Rutgers Newark. A packed house, enjoyed food, giveaways, a visit from the 76ers drumline, on-court entertainment, and two fantastic Scholar Raptor wins. So maybe next year, Chancellor Robinson? It was an electric evening on campus and a tradition that is getting better and better each year. To conclude, I'd like to just talk about the next slide, some future events that are happening. Next slide, please. As many of you are aware, our Year of the Arts celebration has begun. Please join us next month for Festival Mahogany, a Year of the Arts flagship event from February 28th to March 2nd. This week-long musical celebration will showcase classical musicians of color under the direction of conductor Marlon Daniels, including the recent Grammy-winning Karen Slack. Next slide shows the Mallory concert series that is underway for spring 2025, continuing to bring the best local talent in classical and jazz performance to our campus as it has since 2028. The Copeland Quartet will perform in the Mallory Room next Wednesday, the 26th. And then a third event, so one of my favorite bands, the dynamic, Grammy Award-winning and genre-defying Ranky Tanky, will perform as a part of the Year of the Arts just a few miles down the road at the historic Scottish Rite Auditorium in Collinswood. If you've never had the pleasure of seeing a show in the venue and witnessing a Ranky Tanky performance, trust me, you will not be disappointed. In conclusion, next slide. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share these updates with you today. It is always my pleasure to showcase the many reasons why we have to celebrate here at Rutgers University in Camden. And Madam Chair, with that, this concludes my presentation, and I look forward to any questions that members of the board might have.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Tillis. Obviously, a very exciting, impressive, and fun time to be a Raptor. Congratulations to Cal and everybody that you mentioned today, and many that you didn't mention today that I'm sure are enjoying wonderful success in the students and faculty. Thank you very much again for hosting us and for that really impressive report. And I saw several people taking out their pens and their phones looking at the dates for the music festivals. So hoping people took note of that. I'll open up the floor now for any questions for Chancellor Tillis, please. You're all too busy saving March 6th for the ranky tanky, I know it. We'll get bonus points for Board of Governors attendance if you go to a concert. All right, wonderful. Thank you again, Chancellor Tillis.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We'll now move our agenda to Dr. Mogi, who's going to give us an overview of the Middle States Commission on Higher Education Reaccreditation update. I said that twice. This is really an important part of our university. It's a long and an involved process. I think the last self-study report was about 150 pages and took a few years to put together. So this is a big project. This is really an important opportunity for our university to shine and demonstrate the strengths that we have. We have, if I'm not right, is it 1921? We've been one of the longest standing, if not one of the first universities to be accredited by the Middle States Commission on Higher Education. And it's certainly a point of pride that we maintain that level of accreditation. And as I said, it's a big project. It takes a lot of people across the entire university, most of whom we will never see doing the work. We won't see or know or appreciate the thousands of hours that go into doing this, but that allows all of us to hire faculty, to educate students, to change the world, as we mentioned. So while you may not be that familiar with it, it's a really important part of our university work. So over to you, Dr. Mogi.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for that plug. I'm not going to repeat a whole lot of what's on the slides, but I wanted to make sure, hearing a lot of echo. Yeah? We good? Okay. Just want to remind you, why is it so important for us to be getting this accreditation process? I think there's a huge number of reasons, but an important one is students at our institutions cannot qualify for financial aid if we were not accredited. That's as fundamental as that. And of course, we are keenly interested in ensuring that we meet standards of higher education, not just meet them, but exceed them. So I thought it would be interesting for you to learn, if you haven't seen this map before, what you're seeing is a map of the 6 different agencies that do this process. We, of course, fall within the purview of the Middle States accreditation. We call it MISHI for short, Middle States Commission on Higher Education. And that covers New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, but also Puerto Rico. What are the goals of this process? And again, briefly, it's to meet the standards, to assess all the programs, and to be engaged in continuous improvement. And of course, to involve the entire village at Rutgers. You know, that village is vast. And so this is that one instance where the entire institution comes together every, say, 8 years to do this process. So you might ask, when was the last time we went through this? Some of you might remember, some of you may have scars from that process. This happened from 2008 to 2018. That was the last process. In that self-study, this is the document that we have to produce again this time. In the old self-study, we focused on the things that were germane then. The merger with UMDNJ's assets, strategic plans for the university writ large and for the chancellor-led units, our physical master plan, our transition to the Big Ten conference, and the improvements in our systems that support the technical and financial functioning of the university. I just want to bring this up to remind you of what was in season during the past cycle. And we have to develop a blueprint for what we're looking at in the coming cycle. And that's exactly the work that we've embarked on. So the new standards that apply to us now are the 14th edition of the standards. I'm just sort of making sure that you've heard these words because some of you sitting at this table will be meeting with our liaison from the Middle States, March 31st. And the idea that you have heard these words before, some of you have read up the self-study design plan, will I think go a long ways in instilling confidence in the Middle States that the institution and all its governance bodies are part of this process. So when will our next site visit happen? 2027. You might say, oh, 2027 is way out in the future. We have a lot of things going on now, but this process takes a long time to unfold. And I'll tell you what the timelines are that lead us up to that site visit that's happening in 2027. So foremost, the entire process is grounded on our priorities. And those priorities are shown there. We think of them as A, B, and C's: driving academic excellence, creating a beloved community, and then serving the common good. These become the foundational pillars on which the entire self-study plan is founded. What are the outcomes that we need to demonstrate? And this becomes a particularly complicated exercise when there's so much work that the institution's taken on. How do you find the consistent thread throughout the work that the institution does? The first is to show that we have met the standards that apply to us. Second, that we've undergone continuous improvement in our mission. Third, that we've engaged all our stakeholders in a transparent, inclusive way. And fourth, and this is the biggest challenge for us, is that we've gathered the evidence and the inventory of evidence that supports all of that work. And that evidence stays in the archives of our institutional history in ways that we've not done in the past. So this has been some of the new foundational work that we've taken on. What are those 7 standards? And those are listed out here, starting from mission and goals, ethics, integrity, the student experience, the support, and the delivery. There are 2 separate standards on that. How effective are we at teaching and education? What are our institutional practices around planning and resources? This is really important in terms of policies. And then the last one, of course, is how do we govern? How do we lead? How do we administer? So those are the 7 standards that will apply to us. So remember, 3 priorities, 4 broad outcomes, 7 standards. Don't lose me yet, because there's more to come. Then there are principles. So what Middlestead says is that there are certain principles that are sort of interspersed throughout the entire process. What are they? The first one is that those standards that I talked about, the 7, have to apply to our mission and goals. The student experience is central to everything. That's our North Star, of course. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are also a thread that's woven throughout the document and the work we do. And our insistence on data and data evidence decision-making is pivotal here. And finally, of course, if you want to make any changes to improve the institution, that is part of the innovation. And you can show that as your innovation work. So these are 5 principles that have to be embodied and internalized within the entire document. All right, now this is a busy slide. Please don't sweat the details here, but my team is sweating every little detail on there. I'm here to just assure to you that we are taking care of that. And what you want to really look at are just perhaps the years, if you can see them, from left to right on that horizontal bar. 2023 is the 2 years in the past, the planning began. 2024, we started to really now crack down. We developed a team. We actually recruited a person to lead this effort, Michelle Deegan. And she is partnering with Kim O'Halloran, who's our Vice President for Academic Planning. So Kim and Michelle are the leads on this project. and they have been working on this project together with the chancellor's teams. They have developed a leadership group. They have been trained through Middle States, and they have started to accumulate all of the talent and the evidence that we will need in order for this process to operationalize. So we are now in 2025 spring, and what has happened to date is we've created multiple working groups. Each standard is led by a working group, okay? So 7 standards, 7 working groups. The co-chairs of the working groups go into a steering group. The steering group has the co-chairs of those 7 working groups, plus a few of us in there. Who are the co-chairs of the working groups? There's one person from university-wide administration and one person representing the chancellors. This ensures that there's consistency of inputs from all quarters of the campus. Next, what happens is our leadership teams attend the Self-Study Institute. So there's actually a workshop and an institute to train us in terms of what they're looking for. And so that work is ongoing. The working groups now, Jan of this year, completed their self-study design. So think about it this way. Before we embark on the self-study, we have to have a plan. The design of that plan is what the Middle States is going to scrutinize in the next couple of months. That plan was prepared by us and submitted to them Feb 14th, which was, I think, a couple of days ago, last Friday. So when they come back to us, they're going to give us feedback on that design plan for self-study. And they will meet with the chairs of our Board of Governors and Board of Trustees alongside the other leadership groups and the steering committee. Okay, so the next steps, again, summarizing, the self-study design plan was submitted Feb 14th. If you're interested in looking at the plan, please look up the portal. The plan is uploaded on the portal. For those of the Board of Governors in CASA that have looked at that document, they've come away very impressed with the capacious nature of that plan, with the depth, with the sophistication of how we describe Rutgers in a way that's clarifying and consistent, as well as coherent. So please look up the plan and the portal if you haven't had a chance to do so. It's a wonderful way to understand better who we are and how we function. That doesn't mean we can't do better than that as a plan, but that's what we've been able to put together. We have 90 people working on this plan across the university. I'm very proud of the very talented group that's been working really hard through the winter break. I am here to present this update to you, the Board of Governors. That's the second bullet on this slide. I will periodically update the Committee on Academic and Student Affairs, and then you will, of course, meet with the liaison from the Middle States on March 31st. The liaison's coming to town to share information about Middle States to the entire institution of Rutgers, faculty, staff, students, and our important stakeholders in the governance bodies. So this is going to be an open forum at Winans Hall, but also will be broadcast on Zoom for any remote listeners. So I really welcome all of you to listen in if you can. And with that, I'm done. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. Mogi. I would note that if you found a way to give clarity, consistency, and coherency to something, could you pass that along to the rest of us?
You bet. I mean, it is a work in progress, Amy. But
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll now open the floor to the governors. Anybody have questions or comments for Dr. Mogi on the Middle States accreditation process? Very quiet group today. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Mogi.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Okay, we will now move into some business at hand. We'll move into the committee briefings. Just to remind you, today you're gonna hear committee briefings. The full minutes, as always, are available to be filed with the full board meeting minutes with the Office of the Secretary. We will begin with Dr. Dockery on the Committee on Academic and Student Affairs, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee on Academic and Student Affairs met on January 30th and heard from senior leaders regarding the potential impacts of recent federal executive orders, the university's efforts to manage and respond, and President Holloway's continued commitment to academic freedom, freedom of speech, and Rutgers Diversity Strategic Plan. The committee also discussed the university's Middle States Commission on Higher Education self-assessment for reaccreditation, received updates on academic programs, reviewed and endorsed 2 candidates for academic tenure appointments, and endorsed the appointment to the Harold H. Martin Professor of Mathematics Endowed Chair. Madam Chairman, it's the briefing.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the Committee on Finance and Facilities, please. Mr. Lau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee on Finance and Facilities met on January 30th to discuss the university's financial sustainability initiatives, including strengthening enrollment, the Division of Athletics FY24 financial performance, and the recent federal executive orders affecting federal research funding. The committee also heard from Chancellor Conway on Rutgers, New Brunswick's Douglas Discovery Village, and reviewed and endorsed 2 resolutions that have been placed on the consent agenda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lau. We'll now move on to the Committee on Audit. Ms. DiMartino, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee on Audit met on January 23rd and heard reports on professional services, the fiscal year 24 agreed upon procedures for intercollegiate athletics, university procurement, and cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. The committee also received information on compliance training, the university ethics and compliance helpline activity, and the status of the internal audit plan, and engaged in a discussion of the recent federal executive orders and their impact on higher education. Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the Committee on Health Affairs. Mr. Taffet, please. Thank you very much, sir. We'll now move on to the Committee on Intercollegiate Athletics. Mr. Copeland, please.
Here we go. Good afternoon, Madam Chair. The Committee on Intercollegiate Athletics met on February 4th to receive a report on student athletes' academic success and the presentation of Scarlet Knight Life and supported careers and leadership development for student athletes. The committee also received an update on capital projects, including renovations to existing athletics facilities, and heard from Mr. Passari on the team's successes and the NCAA financial report, season ticket renewals, and the NIL landscape. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And now we'll receive the Joint Committee on Investments reports from Mr. Gower, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Joint Committee on Investments met on February 6th to review and discuss asset allocation, spending from endowed funds, the market, and the university's portfolio performance. The committee also reviewed and endorsed an asset allocation recommendation and reviewed the budget for the coming year for the university's investment office. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gower. We'll now move the consent agenda. Mr. Lau, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are there any items that members want to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, upon recommendation of the Governor's Executive Committee, the Committee on Academic and Student Affairs, and the Committee on Finance and Facilities, and the Committee on Health Affairs, I move the board approve the items contained in the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Lau. I'll entertain a second, please.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Hearing none, the consent agenda is carried. We'll now call on Ms. Foster, Chair of the University Senate, for her report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll keep my comments brief. At the regular meeting, the Senate adopted the following resolutions on January 24th, 2025, the full text of which is available on the Senate website. January 2025, at a special meeting, the University Senate adopted the following resolution. This was on January 31st. The resolution on the federal grant funding chaos and university response. Rutgers University Senate called for the establishment of an ad hoc shared governance committee to include representatives of the Senate and the administration to collaborate in all monitoring all stop work notifications and funding delays received by Rutgers researchers as they are reported through the university's designated tracking system. The Senate has been asked to submit 5 senator volunteers, which will be voted on this Friday, February 21st. At its regular meeting on January 24th, the University Senate adopted the following recommendations. S-2335, University Senate's communication with constituents through social media. The University Senate has long grappled with its inability to communicate with its constituents effectively as a deliberative body. According to University Policy 50.2.2, the University Senate considers matters of general university interest and makes recommendations to the university administration. The vast majority of the Senate constituents, students, faculty, staff, and alumni are often unaware of the recommendations. University Senate's communication with constituents through social media was voted on as a possibility to work with advancing Senate reports and recommendations. The following goals were proposed: promote greater transparency, provide better engagement, foster interaction between the Senate and students, expand awareness, introduce and explain what the Rutgers University Senate is, its composition, past actions and accomplishments, and schedule of meetings, and open feedback. Serve as a platform for the university community to voice concerns or ask questions. The Senate Bylaws Article 3 Executive Committee were approved with revisions. Among the many issues the Senate is addressing, changes with the federal grants and guidelines have become an immediate concern. The Senate will select the 5 senators to work with the Rutgers Office for Research in navigating stop order work. The Senate hosted its second panel discussion on academic freedom and freedom of expression in collaboration with President Jonathan Holloway on February 6th. The Senate remains committed to serving the Rutgers community and contributing to the Board of Governors' quarterly meetings. Thank you all for your unwavering dedication to this important work. And together, on behalf of those we serve and the future generations of Rutgers, Madam Chair, this concludes my report to the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucy, for your report, and to the Senate for its important work. I'll now entertain any old business before the board. Hearing none, I'll entertain any new business before the board. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second? Any opposed? Thank you again for your time. Get home safe and warm today. Thanks again. This meeting's adjourned.